Well, Monday marks the World News Day as most of the globe shelters in place to keep safe from the coronavirus. The news reporters have been rushing out to bring much needed news and information about the pandemic to the world. Ironically, the pandemic has also caused massive losses of jobs in newsrooms, and some media outlets have even had to shut down due to lack of advertising revenue. Now, most of the media outlets in the African continent have been shaken by economic shutdowns on this World News Day. Let's see how the situation is. And for this, we are joined live by Churchill Otieno, the chairman of the Kenya's Editors Guild. Churchill, thank you for joining us here on Africa Live. Straight off the top, how has the year been for the newsrooms in Kenya?
Thank you. Thank you. A very tough year for news, I must say. Um, uh, when it did land in Kenya back in March, not too many of us knew exactly what it would mean, both for the public and for ourselves in the media. But it quickly unraveled fault lines that were existing before. So this has ended up in job losses at the Kenya Editors Guild, where I'm president. We've counted more than 400 journalists having lost their jobs. And those who are still holding on to their jobs have had to put with pay cuts from 30% to 50%. So it's a fairly ravaging story, so to speak.
All right. To follow up on my first question, how would you describe the performance of the news media in communicating information about the pandemic?
Um, uh, I think colleagues in most newsrooms have tried their best to make sure that the Kenyan public is fully informed every turn of this story, every turn of this pandemic. It started with a story of just trying to track the spread. So the numbers story took center stage, just a question of who has tested negative or positive, and God forbid, we ended up with some deaths also in there. Of course, on the back of that, there was lots of focus on how the public safety policies were being deployed, which didn't start too well for the government, because they came through as very heavy-handed with police beating up people, maiming some. Unfortunately, some of them were journalists. On the very first day, an NTV journalist in Mombasa suffered the wrath of the police, and we were very unhappy about that. And later, it became a question of accountability journalism, in that how have the resources that the state put together, helped by the disease, been applied to make sure that people are safe? That's a story that we
All right.
continue to focus on. Lots of questions coming out of it.
All right. Now, what would you say was the big takeaway? What lessons would you say the pandemic has taught the media management in the continent?
Number one, uh, the media must, of necessity, embrace digital and find new business models to be versatile, so as to be able to take these kind of shocks. We all knew that the legacy media, the traditional media, newspapers, and even TV stations were on a downward trend. This has been escalated by this pandemic. Many of them are trying to claw back out of those drops. We don't think they'll climb back to the levels that were there before. So editors and media managers are working hard to try and find new ways to make sure that they can sustain the businesses.
All right. My final question before I let you go, Churchill Otieno. A reminder, it is also the International Day of Universal Access to Information. Where would you say we are as a continent on this front?
New requirements. Many of the African states and the nations are fighting to make sure that reliable information can get to most of their populations. And we know that the journalist is a fellow who sits in the place of pride for this. Because today, technology enables almost everybody to be able to publish their ideas. But many of those ideas come with problems, which only journalists can first check, can verify, and deliver to the public. Uh, a lot of newsrooms are trying to adapt to these new ways to make sure that we get truthful, reliable stories. to the people so that they can help make decisions around their life.
All right, Churchill Atieno, let's leave it there for now. Thank you for speaking to us. That's Churchill Atieno, president of Kenya's Editors Guild. Thank you so much.